is everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about my top 5 Transformers Kingdom figures. Before we get into one of them right here, Transformers Kingdom Cyclonus, I do want to let you know all these 5 figures you're about to see are not in order of getting, of course, better or worse. All these 5 figures, I would say, are completely equal on the scale of how much I like them, of course, and how many very few small nitpicks I have with them. So, of course, the next one I'm about to show you will not be better or worse than this figure here. They are all, I would say, equal on the exact same scale. So, getting into the very first one, we have Transformers Kingdom Cyclonus. Damn, this figure is just so good. I just want to let you get a full 360 view of this figure before I, of course, get him in my hands and show you all the few and minor problems and, of course, amazing details that this figure has. But yeah, this figure is so cool. This came out in Kingdom Wave 1, so if you have not get this figure, highly suggest you get it. Let's get into the details, all of what I like about them, and of course, again, some minor little nitpicks I have with it. Getting into all of what I like about Cyclonus, just first up with the overall just design and color scheme, I think it looks amazing. Love the silver for his weapon, very classic, very simple, very G1-esque. Love the head sculpt, really like how there's some nice red piping in there, really nice when you get a light over it illuminates, very menacing, looks amazing. Love the Decepticon symbol on the chest, and also there is virtually no back cable whatsoever. It is so streamlined, so sleek, so amazing. Also another really cool part of this is that as soon as I got this figure, I 100% knew we were going to get a Scourge and a Galvatron, and we got a Scourge from the Studio Series line, and of course we got a Kingdom Galvatron. So this figure looks absolutely amazing. Buy this figure. No, I don't have Scourge. I do have the Titan's Return version, which looks amazing with him as well. So definitely this figure looks amazing with his leader Galvatron there. And yes, Galvatron is one of my top 5 Kingdom figures, so make sure you stay tuned for all the amazing things that I like with that figure later. But yeah, this figure looks so good. More really cool parts of this is the articulation is overall very good standard articulation. One really cool option is if you want this figure to be taller, you can actually use this hinge here and you can hinge it up. You do want to be aware if you do that there is a gap there, so do be aware of that. But overall this figure looks so cool. So getting into the minor I'd say flaws or nitpicks of mine. So I do wish the articulation or the joint tightness in the arm was a little bit tighter. It is a little loose here. Yes, there's some good articulation there, but I think it's a little too loose. I don't, of course, move or mess with my figures too much, so that wasn't me. I think it did just come that way. Another nitpick is that on this side there is a slight minor gap there. If you cannot tell, on this side it is fully flushed and compressed together, both halves. So yeah, again, no, there is no breakage or any problem. No, it has not split apart or anything. That's just how it came, so I wouldn't say that's a big problem. Would I like that to be compressed better? Yes, I would. So let's get into all the great parts of the ship mode, and of course, a few nitpicks of the ship mode, then we'll move on to the next figure. Getting into all the great things about Cyclonus' ship mode, there is just so many. This ship mode just looks amazing. It is such an abstract, weird shape. I think it looks amazing. Love this long, narrow nose of the ship. That is so amazing with that. It is actually hard to believe how they could just fold all this up and just fit it into one small Voyager size figure. It just looks amazing. Love the pan-apps. Again, love this really cool circular nose section of the ship. Looks so cool. I really also do like how the landing gear is easily fit inside there. These are actually the front of the legs, and you can barely even notice it's there. There's also some landing gear on the front. My only, I would say, annoyance or nitpick is that they cannot roll. It really is just stand it up, which I do like. I would kind of like if they rolled, maybe. Again, a very minor nitpick. To some people, they don't care about that at all. To some people, they do. But yeah, this figure just looks so cool. It is a very good photography figure for this mode. You can really get some cool looks when you attach some blaster pieces to the back here and here and here. It looks amazing when he's just shooting off into space. Of course, you could attach this to a flight stand. It looks amazing. So, of course, you can also get his very G1 accurate weapon and plug that in there, and that also looks very cool on top. It does not cover up the details. It actually does look natural and good, because sometimes when you get a weapon and you attach it to an alt mode, it looks out of place and odd and weird. I think that actually does work very well for it being, you know, a completely different color. This is silver, this is purple, and, you know, dark shades, and this is more of a bright color, but I think it does work. It actually really adds to it. I think it's amazing. So getting into another minor nitpick is, of course, a lot of people have this problem, is that these sections here do not tab in. So they are supposed to really compress better, and it does not really at all, which is unfortunate. I knew that whenever I got this figure. Before I got this figure, I watched several reviews, and a lot of people said that as well. Again, that is a very minor nitpick for such an amazing figure. This is my first Cyclonus figure, and definitely, of course, probably one of the best I've ever seen in reviews and pictures that I've ever seen released so far. Of course, there could be some knockoffs out there that are really, really good too. I don't know. I don't have any other than this one, and this one is amazing for just $30. Highly suggest you get it if you have not. Yes, there is a little gap there. You could use your imagination and say these are kind of like vents or like areas, you know, where the jets are, so it can cool off, you know, so heat does not build up inside the jet. You could use your imagination if you want to. Something like that. They're vents. Something like that. You know, they have missiles in there, of course. Use your imagination. Again, not a big deal. So overall, Cyclonus, a really good figure. Highly suggest you get him. Definitely an amazing way to start off a new wave or a new genre kingdom. This is from the first wave. A really good figure. Probably my favorite from the first wave. Highly suggest you get him if you have not. Let's move on to the next step. We have Transformers Kingdom Wave 3 Deluxe Class Wing Figure. By far my favorite fossilizer yet released. It is just amazing. Whenever this was released or shown or revealed on the live stream, of course, this was also revealed with Galvatron and several other figures like Scorponok and some more. The two figures I was looking at, this figure and Galvatron. This figure looks so cool. Love the whole ninja-esque look and vibe. It looks amazing. There is, of course, a minor disadvantage that it is, I would say, a little bit too slender in my opinion. Sometimes, at times when you're handling it, it can get a little too fiddly and really just kind of crumble in your hands. It is very scrawny and very flexible and flimsy at times, which could be seen to an advantage because you want it to be more slender. It's more of a ninja, you know. He has to be stealthy. I do understand that, but at times when you're holding it, it can get a little too flimsy and sort of just kind of fall apart at times. But overall, this figure looks so cool. Let's get into all of the amazing, really cool details that I like about this, and of course, some minor nitpicks of mine, and then of course, I'll get into the other modes. So getting into all the amazing parts and details of Wing Figure, I think he's just a really, really cool figure. Again, definitely my favorite of the fossilizers that they've created so far. Remember, there is going to be a mammoth one, but I do not think it will be as good as this figure. So all the great pluses of that. I really love this ninja-esque look. I love the blades. That looks really cool. There's also like some armor on his shoulders. There's also this really cool battle mask. You can have it open, of course, and you can close it. I think that looks really cool. Nice maximal symbol on the front, and there's this also really cool kind of insect bug detailing on the top. That looks really, really nice. Of course, again, there's lots of really nice bone detailing on the legs, the heel spurs, which these do form the little claws of the pterodactyl. Yeah, this figure just looks so cool. Lots of playability. You can get these two knives here and can form one big blade. Sometimes it can be a little tricky because they can pop out, but you can form this big sort of scythe weapon if you want to. I think that looks pretty cool. You can also get this big pterodactyl head, and it can form sort of a shield, kind of sort of SWAT sort of thing. People don't really like it because it's hard to tell what it is. I agree with that. In my opinion, it's sort of hard to tell what it is just on first glance. I do understand the concept, but it is a little bit hard to pull it off. And people do not like how it just stores on the back. I do agree with that as well, but I think it actually looks pretty cool just on display. Of course, if you don't want to, you can just peg it off and put it out to the side, but then it sort of is considered parts forming. Some people do not like loose pieces on display on their shelf. I do agree with that as well. So there is several options to please different people, but if you want to, again, you can just get this peg here like this, and you can just plug this onto his hand there, and you can form this sort of shield, kind of club sort of thing. Again, yes, it is sort of hard to tell what it is, but I think it still looks pretty cool. Again, love the battle mask, love the sword, love that, looks amazing. So getting into, again, just reinstating what I said before, it is, I would say, a little bit too loose. fossilizers, modulators, and weaponizers all tend to have the same problem of loose joints. Since these figures break into many pieces, it is a tendency for them to have loose joints, which is kind of unfortunate. It's just sort of a thing that's plagued with these figures, and it's a repetitive thing that really always happens. Way too loose at the waist there. It doesn't ever really fall off. It's just I'll be doing like a stop motion, you know, and moving it around, and then it will just like completely just flip out of place, you know, and then I'll have to like redo several shots of the stop motion. I think the joint at the leg is pretty tight. The arms could be a little bit tighter, and yeah, it can fall out. But yeah, just a few areas I would like to be a little bit tighter. Overall, I think it's pretty cool in my opinion. Again, these 5 figures that I'm about to really just showing you, there is some very minor things. I am pretty picky with some figures, so I just want to say them just to let you know if you don't have this figure already. But overall, a really cool ninja bone warrior sort of thing going on. Really be cool if they could make a repaint of this. I would 100% buy that. Let's get into all the great details of the bird mode, or pterodactyl. So getting into all the amazing details and features of this pterodactyl mode, I think it looks so cool. Really do like the bone-esque look. I think they nailed the whole overall structure. Looks super cool. I can definitely tell they spent a lot of time into constructing this really cool bird dinosaur look. Just looks super cool. Really cool if you could get a flight stand, you know, have them fly. Really love the head. People said it kind of looked oversized for the body. I think it looks pretty good. Of course, we don't really know how big the heads were in the scale of these dinosaurs. Of course, we never saw them in person. They were all dead. But I think it looks pretty good as a toy. I think it looks really cool. The head is in sort of an awkward position there, but whatever. Love how the armor pieces here sort of become like the rib cage or the bones of the dinosaur. I think that plays out really cool. The swords become the wings. So yeah, I think they really were able to position and dish out all the pieces from the robot mode into the bird mode very well. Every piece really had a really good purpose. So getting into a few critiques of mine, of course, the hinges and the tightness of joints is still, I would say, a minor problem, but I do kind of wish that you could have the mouth open a little bit better, because you can only really have it closed or fully open, and it's kind of hard to have it kind of partially open, because then it really just ends up closing sort of like that. So that is kind of unfortunate in my opinion. Again, not a deal breaker. It's just if you want to display it like it's, you know, screaming or, you know, roaring, that might be kind of a problem in my opinion. But overall, a really amazing bird mode. Looks super cool, very bone-like, very creepy. I think this is probably my first pterodactyl of my collection. They don't make very many. I think they definitely nailed this one. So again, highly suggest you get this figure. Let's move on to the next one. So getting into the next one, we have Transformers Kingdom Voyager class Blaster. So this is from Wave 5. So actually, before I had this figure in the spot, or before I had this figure in my collection, before it was Tigertron, and he just kicked him right out of a spot. This figure is amazing. I love how it comes with an extra little Megatron eject. Yes, eject is quite simple in design and transformation, but I really do like when figures come with just a little extra little bonus or goodie just to include, just for some fun. So let's get into all the amazing details of the robot and of course boombox mode, and I will quickly go over the minicon mode and what I like about it. So here we have Kingdom Blaster, and this figure was definitely a surprise, because when we got listings of this figure, a lot of people were just thinking it was going to be Netflix Soundwave, just with of course a brand new head sculpt and of course completely repainted, maybe with a minicon. We did not really know what to expect, but when we got a short little live stream or video back in December, we were like, oh my gosh, this figure looks completely different than what we were expecting. We were just expecting Netflix Soundwave, but slightly tweaked, and that was it. This figure is, I would say, completely different from Netflix Soundwave. Do I have Netflix Soundwave? No, I don't, but I know from videos it is a very different figure. I've watched several reviews of this figure and Netflix Soundwave to know they're pretty much completely different. Of course, they both do turn into boomboxes, because there is one similarity. So all the amazing details of this figure. I love the head sculpt, really like the rifle. I was worried this was going to be just reused from Tiny Return, but it is not. That is also another plus for this figure. I do have Tiny Return Soundwave, or Blaster, I mean. and he has a, of course, Titan Master. This figure does not. So it is actually really, really nice to have two versions of Blaster. One that is, of course, much bigger. Of course, the leaders back then were quite a bit bigger than you see them now. So I do have a Voyager one and a leader one with a head gimmick and one without. So that is actually kind of nice how I have two versions that are both very different, but of course the exact same character. So really love the rifle. I really do like how there is a trigger finger to activate the really cool boombox chest feature thing. Actually, when buying this figure, I did not know he had a little pointer finger. I actually did not know that at all, so that's a nice surprise. So you actually can sort of, I guess, do it. You can get it pretty close to if you wanted to, and you can, of course, move this out of the way, press it, and have that really cool feature of eject inside, which I will take a look at eject in just a second with all the really cool details on it. But yeah, love the head sculpts, really like the nice yellow. I really do like how you can see eject inside of there if you get it close enough. Love the speakers. I really do like how these two pieces here are actually the handle of the boombox. So this is definitely a major plus over the Titan's Return version, because the Titan's Return version just had a huge, big, gaping handle on his back. It was just stored right on his back, right there, and it was so ugly, and it was huge, because, of course, that was, again, a leader, and leaders were much bigger back then than they are now. They were, you know, quite a bit bigger. Hard to actually put into words, but much bigger. If you actually have seen my Blaster review, you know how much bigger the Titan's Return version is. But yeah, so definitely a plus with that. But let's get into a few nitpicks of the boombox mode. Kind of unfortunate, you can sort of see the spring or the wiring there. Not, I would say, the prettiest. If you have it at a certain angle, you might not be able to see it, but it is a little bit ugly in my opinion. I would say, of course, it might be a little bit hard to cover, but it is a nitpick of mine. And unfortunately, there is a few scrapes on my head sculpt right there. Just some minor things. I did get this early, so of course this could just be my copy. Who knows? Honestly, most of the time it's barely able to be seen. I don't even think you can see it on camera, but in hand you can see them. There's a few nicks here and there, but overall the robot mode is amazing. There is literally no back kibble whatsoever. This is really just like Cyclonus. No back kibble. Honestly, better than Cyclonus because there is no gaps in the legs whatsoever at all. Articulation is good. The details are really good. Overall, just super, super cool. And I really like that feature, how it opens. I do like how there is some nice sculpting inside. And the Megatron looks pretty good. Very simple, just blue and some gold, and that's it. So, overall, love the robot mode. Let's get into all the details and amazing things that I like about the boombox and, of course, the robot mode of eject. Getting into all the really cool features of Transformers Kingdom Wave 5 Blaster. Of course, he does come with the really cool Minicon. Here's Eject, starting off. I think it's really cool. I really do like whenever they include some little Minicons. He's quite simple, of course, in design and transformation, but I really do like the gold and the gray and the blue mixture. People are worried about it cracking. It hasn't cracked with my figures, so I'm not too worried about that. I wouldn't be worried if you have this figure at all. So if you're too worried, just be delicate. But I wouldn't be at all, in my opinion. So here we have Blaster, and I think he looks very, very cool. Love all the design. This is pretty much completely different in design of the Titan's Return version. If you watch my review, you know that with the Titan's Return version for the boombox, it was a lot more simple. There was like two really big speakers on each side. This has, of course, two here and two on the side of both, of course. So it has four, and of course he has a lot of really cool knob detailing. There was like no knobs on the Titan's Return version. There's like a stop and play button, tons of little really cool black lines and venting detailing, tons of really nice details, and I do think it's a lot more to proportion for us. No, it's not a realistically sized boombox, but the Titan's Return version was really, really big. This is definitely more reasonably sized in my opinion. So yeah, love all the details, love the speakers, the knobs, the pause and the play. Lots of nice detailing. Of course, you still can see that little wiring in there. Don't really like that. Looks kind of ugly in my opinion. And of course, you can still press it. And if you had eject in his little tape mode, you could put him in there and close it up. The handle looks quite nice. You can sort of fit your fingers in there if you wanted to. I have big hands, so it doesn't really work for me. But quite nice in that playability factor. I do like how you can store the rifle on the back. With the temperature turn version, there was really no way to store it. You kind of just slapped it back there. It did not look the best, in my opinion. That is more compressed and clean. So yeah, overall, a really good boombox mode. I honestly don't really have any complaints transformation-wise. Which, of course, this takes nothing away from either modes. It can be a little bit fiddly at times. You have to fit the hand inside of the leg, so that can be a little tough sometimes, because there is the pointer finger hand, which can get caught in some stuff, so I would be a little careful about that. Be a little more patient. But overall, boombox mode, I have absolutely no complaints. It is pretty much perfect. It's very cute. Lots of nice details for just a $30 figure, or like $36 figure, because there is a Minicon. Love the addition of the Minicon. I don't have any complaints about eject either. It's quite simple. Really like it. I really do like how you can, of course, incorporate him into the robot mode and boombox mode whenever he's in a cassette and robot. So very, very nice. Maybe if they wanted to be a little bit more creative, they could have done something like Stu Series Slug, where you could put him on his shoulder. So maybe they could have put some pegs in there, or you could just kind of try and balance him on there if you wanted to in the robot mode or boombox mode. So let's move on to the next. Next up, we have Transformers Kingdom Wave 2 Dinobot. So this might be sort of a biased sort of given figure, because Dinobot is my favorite Beast Wars character, so I kind of had to include him in here. Yes, he has some flaws. I will get to them, of course, but this figure just looks super, super cool. Of course, again, he's Wave 2. He's one of the Voyagers. Highly suggest to get him. You know, people do have problems with him. I do have problems with him, but it's either this or, of course, maybe the old Universe one, or you could buy the, like, $400, $500 Masterpiece one. So if you want to buy in budgets with some pretty good engineering and really good detailing, I would do this one. That's $30. Some people really like the old Universe one. If you're okay with some antique ones, some older ones, by all means, get that one, or you could get them both, just for a comparison of an old and a new modern one. I don't have that version, so I don't know how it is, but in my opinion, this version is really, really cool. Let's get into all the details of this figure. Here we have Transformers Kingdom Dinobot. I think he looks amazing. So all the really cool details that I like about it is I really do like the two accessories, very classic to the Beast Wars show. I think they look really good. Love all the nice bone or kind of skin detailing on this figure. I really do like the faux dino chest piece. It's actually kind of funny because the actual dinosaur face is right here, and they just kind of recreated it with these pieces on the chest, the eyes there. I really do like the nice gold there, and on the crotch, that looks really, really nice. And yeah, just this figure looks amazingly well detailed. Love the really nice skin texturing all over the figure. On the legs, the feet, looks really, really cool. The head sculpt, by far, is amazing. Love the nice dark blue, the red for the eyes, and some nice black for the eyebrow section, and some more kind of orangish, kind of maroon, whatever you want to call it, brown. Honestly, hard to describe for the rest of the face or helmet section of the head sculpts. So yeah, this figure just looks so cool. Very, very classic to the Beast Wars show. Looks so good. This is my first Dinobot character, and a really, really good one. I'm so glad they finally made one. When they first, revealed they were gonna make one, I was like, I have to get this. I love Dinobot. He's a really cool character in the show. Overall, really good backstory, and I think they did pretty good with this. So, getting into a few of the complaints. Just going to say one now. Transformation, I do not like. It is very unenjoyable to do while, recording or off. It's just very fiddly, not very fun to do. Yes, the end result for the robot mode and the dinosaur mode, they're both very cool, yes, but transforming it is just not fun. It's not very smooth. It's just very fiddly, not very simple or smooth. You have to do a lot of stuff at the same times. A lot of stuff does not stay in the same place. Just stuff doesn't happen very well. I kind of wish they could do a little bit better with that. Another complaint of mine is I kind of wish maybe this kibble could have been covered up a little bit more, but overall, not the worst. And, I do kind of wish maybe this could be also maybe compressed more, covered up as well a little bit more. But overall, that's really it, I would say, for the robot mode. People do not like the sword because that is not accurate to the show. I think in the show is a little bit more silver, I think, or a little bit more pink maybe. That does not bother me. It bothers me in the T-Rex or dinosaur mode because it sticks out with a tail. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll let you know whenever he's in his alt mode, which will be right now. So moving on to the dinosaur mode, I think it looks really, really good. I do like all the texturing. The skin texturing looks really good. There's some kind of lighter coloring there. I think that looks pretty good. Some kind of scale or patterning designs. That looks pretty good. I think overall the dinosaur head looks pretty good. The eyes, nice white for the teeth. The tongue, of course, it does close, which is pretty nice. People do have some complaints about the little dino arms. There is not articulated fingers. I do agree with that complaint. That is one nitpick of mine. There is a hinge there, so you can, of course, maneuver around a little bit. But in the show, a lot he did use his claws, and of course he did have articulated fingers, so that is kind of unfortunate that they could not do that. I don't really think there is any reason why they couldn't have. Maybe there could be some unknown reason, who knows. Maybe they have one, but I think that would have been kind of nice. I think there is an upgrade kit for that, so if you're really bothered by that, you can do it. I'm not really an upgrade kit kind of person, so but yeah, if it bothers you enough, you could do that. I love the claws, very creepy, very, very sharp looking. Again, more of that skin rough detailing on there. Another complaint is this. I do not like this weird purple just kind of sticking out of his tail. That is his sword, of course, because it's just tucked inside there, of course. But I do like how that stores. That's very creative and cool, but I do not like that. I think with Grimlock, the repaint of this version, they did it better because his tail color and his sword color matched, so it just kind of blended in. It really worked well. Of course, in this situation, it does not really work very well, so I kind of wish maybe they had a cover for that, like this shield piece went a little bit longer so it could completely cover that purple. That is kind of unfortunate, but overall, that's really all the complaints. Again, the transformation is a pain. I do not like doing it. I would say it's close to being as bad as Transformers Beast Wars Kingdom Megatron. That transformation is also a pain. The worst part is really the legs. It's just a pain to tab them into the main body section and to there at the same time. It's just really hard. You have to fiddle with it a lot. After a few tries, of course, you can get the swing of it. It's just, I wouldn't say it's the fun part of this figure. But overall, a really good figure. Love Kingdom Dinobots or Beast Wars Dinobot. I think they did this figure and this character justice 100%. Let's move on to the last one, Transformers Kingdom Galvatron. Next up, and of course, finally, we have Transformers Kingdom Wave 3 Galvatron. This figure absolutely had to be in my top 5 because this figure is just so cool. It 100% makes up for the horrible Tiny Return Galvatron. I actually bought that figure, I have that figure, and I sent it back like the day after I got it. I got that a while ago, and when I got it, I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It was just horrible. There were so many problems with it. This 100% makes up for it. When or before I got this figure, I knew, yes, it is a very hard to do figure. This Galvatron, of course, he turns into that really weird, you know, kind of stand turret tank sort of thing. It's not an easy alt mode, and it's not an easy thing to have him transform into. I do understand that, but it is so much better on so many levels than the Tiny Return version. It improves in so many ways, so let's get into it. I'm going to take him off the rotating stand, and I'll get into all of the amazing parts of this figure. We have Kingdom Galvatron. I think he looks so cool. Let's get into all the really cool things that I like about him. So he comes with a lot of accessories. He comes with a really cool chain matrix, which is really cool. Yes, it is a solid piece of plastic. It's not an actual chain, which I was expecting in the first place, so I do still think it's a really cool accessory. Of course, you can take that off of him, and you can take the matrix off of there. The matrix is the exact same scope that came with Earthrise Optimus Prime and Shatterglass Optimus Prime, and of course, there's a lot of repaints of that. They're really awesome, cool fusion cannon. I think that looks really cool. Love the silver and the black. Of course, there is lots of areas where you can store this. There is actually 2 ports on his arms, so you can have it higher up or lower, which is pretty cool. I typically have it a little bit higher because then it won't hit the floor. And then we do get the 2 revenge ships. So I do want to thank Champion Productions. He actually pointed out in my Selects review of this figure that I accidentally called it the Nemesis. The reason why is because in the Transformers Prime show, Megatron ship is called the Nemesis, so that's why. And in that review, I had a lot of editing, so I was just kind of scatterbrained. So I just kind of thought, oh, Nemesis. But yeah, these 2 ships are the Revenge. So again, thank you Champion Productions and the Transformers Selects Galvatron review for pointing out that mistake. I will make sure to, whenever I get reformatting Galvatron, to call it the right name. But yeah, those are the 2 Revenge ships, and of course it does come with 2, and you can create one big blaster, which is pretty cool. And yeah, these accessories are just kind of okay. They're exactly the same. I do not like how they're painted. They're very bland and boring. Again, these do come with the other version of this mold, and they're painted more blackish purple, but I still do think kind of a sort of a throwaway accessory. You can store them on the back, but I do not like that, so I typically just have him in his hand. So to the figure itself, I think they did amazing. Love the whole bulky aesthetic. Of course, you know, in the show he was a very, very, very powerful bot. He was stronger than Megatron. Of course, he was the superior version. Unicron himself just really recreated Megatron to be even stronger. I really do like the bulk on the arms. The chest looks really cool. I know people do have with the they have a problem with the brushwork. So apparently, they're going to repack this in Legacy, but it's going to be the exact same thing without brushwork. So if you do not want with brushwork, you can get that. Honestly, sort of going over this figure again, I honestly wish they had just given us this without the brushwork in the first place. Yes, I do like the rust sort of look. I think it looks pretty cool, but if I were to pick to have one this or the one without the brushwork, I would pick the one without, in my personal opinion. Would I count that as a thing against this figure? Absolutely not. I do like it, but again, if I would have to choose one, I would choose the one without. There is also some more on the legs, which I think looks pretty cool as well. But yeah, overall, this figure it just screams Galvatron. I think they did an amazing job. Love the head sculpt. I think it cleans up quite nicely. You know, there is, of course, some tread kibble, and that was a major problem on the Time to Return of Galvatron, because in that figure, of course, you can tab this into the shoulder, or you can untab it. If you do tab it in, it does limit articulation, so do keep that in mind. The problem with the Time to Return version is you could not tab it in at all, and the hinge that was, you know, supporting it was super loose. So I do like how this is tight, so you can tab it in if you want to, or untab it, and it will be fine. It will be stable. That was a major problem with the previous version of this character, that it was so flappy and loose, which does bring into a nitpick of mine. I do have some problems with loose joints with this figure. The cannon does not always really stay on very well. It's quite loose. Does it just fall right off? No, but it is quite loose. It can just kind of hinge around on itself. The legs are a little loose, in my opinion. The arms could be a little bit tighter. And I do kind of wish maybe these sections here could be a little bit more stable. These shoulder pieces are fine, but this section here, these 2 pieces, I do kind of wish were a little bit more stable. And this hinge here does not always like to tab in, but overall, I will take pretty much any Galvatron, because it will have to be better than the Time to Return version. But yeah, this robot mode is amazing. Let's get into the cannon mode, and then I'm going to get with the final thoughts of this top 5 ranking. We have Galvatron in his turret mode / tank mode. I think this mode is pretty amazing as well. There's just a few minor nitpicks that I will get to in a second, but overall, I think they did an amazing job. I do understand that, again, this is a pretty hard figure to do. This tank is pretty, you know, complex and hard to get just from a normal, you know, generic Transformer or robots or kind of person, you know, arms and legs and just typical head and stuff, nothing crazy, to get into a very abstract, weird-looking turret / tank sort of thing. You know, Megatron, he's just a normal tank, you know, sort of really just a car. Very simple. This is very different. So I do understand, you know, I wasn't expecting a ton with this mode. I was, you know, hoping for it to be pretty good, but I was not going to be very strict or expecting too much, and I think I'm definitely surprised. Really love the big cannon there. You can store the Matrix chain. You can use these 2 Nemesis guns and, Revenge guns, I'm sorry. You can put these on on the side here. I don't usually, it doesn't look the greatest, it covers up too much of the detail, so I typically will just do more of a clean look with just the matrix chain. I think that looks pretty good. So getting into a few of the nitpicks, I don't like how the matrix chain faces down. So you can, there's a little peg on or tab on the matrix, and you just plug it into the little slot down here, and that's cool, but then the matrix faces down. I would have liked it if it faced forward. I think that would have made more sense, because when you have it forward like this, you can just see it face down, and that does not really, I would say, in practicality-wise, that doesn't really make the most sense. I kind of wish maybe it faced forward more, but that's a very minor complaint. Moving on to one of the other complaints is I do wish on this side that this tabbed together better. So there is these two sections here. It's supposed to clip into this piece right here. As you can see, it has already come untabbed, and this chain piece did come untabbed as well too, but that I can just tab that back into place. But yeah, unfortunately on this side is a little bit loose right here, so I do wish that was a little bit tighter. This side actually always stays in place, which is kind of funny. With the Gen Selects version, that one has improved. It is much tighter, so that is good. But those two are the only complaints of the turret mode. I think that's perfectly fine, because with the Tiny Turn version, that one was horrible. I don't really think I liked any part of it. It was god awful. It was really bad. So and everyone thinks that. So yes, definitely an improvement in my opinion. I love how you can angle the turrets higher and lower, so that's very, very nice. Of course, you can get a blaster piece and attach it to that, so it can be a really huge big explosion, which is really cool. So yeah, definitely a highly recommended figure. So that's pretty much it. That's all 5. Let's get into the final thoughts, and that will be pretty much it. So here we have all 5 next to each other, and these figures just are all really, really good. So just kind of backtracking, just kind of going over the stuff. I think all 5 of these figures are amazing. Again, all equal. Yes, they do have some minor nitpicks, just with really just tightness. You know, some joints are not tight enough. With Galvatron, some areas just don't tab in very well. There's a little bit of ugliness with Blaster in the little tape section where you have that button. Dinobot, his transformation, no, it's not the best, but overall these figures are really good. Much improvement with Galvatron. With the Tiny Turn version, that figure was horrible. Dinobot, of course, yes, he does have the bad transformation, but you know, appearance-wise in the robot and dinosaur mode looks amazing. Every once in a while, you get a figure that, you know, the figure's good, you just don't like the transformation. I feel the exact same way with Beast Wars Megatron. Cyclonus here, he has really just one problem. I would say his joints are not the tightest in the robot mode, and there's those little pieces that don't tab together the greatest. But his ship mode, honestly, he's one of those figures where I would probably buy 2 just to have 1 in robot mode and 1 in the alt mode. That is how good his robot mode and alt mode is. So these figures are amazing. Love Blaster. He just kind of kicked Tigertron out of his spot. Sorry, Tigertron, but he's a really good figure. All these figures are amazing. Blaster is kind of a new figure, so you might not be able to find him right now. He's been kind of hard to track down, but he will be repacked in Legacy, so if you cannot find him in Kingdom, just wait for Legacy and you'll be able to find him. He is on Hasbro Pulse right now, but I do think he's out of stock. So yeah, but I'm assuming probably these other 4, Cyclonus, Dinobot, Galvatron, and Wing Figure, those have been out for quite a while now, so you should probably be able to find those on Amazon, Hasbro Pulse, eBay, all that sort of stuff. So definitely really like these figures. Let me know, what is your favorite 5 Kingdom figures in the comment section below, and is one of these in your favorite 5, or do you disagree with a few of these? Do you disagree, like these should not be in the 5, or have any problems with them, something like that? Let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you next time.